Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Saturday. I hope you're having a good one wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. As always, it is match day. Of course, I'll be heading off to the Emirates very, very soon. Arsenal versus West Ham United kicking off at 3 p.m. A Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Who doesn't love those? Could be a big day again in the Premier League. We've got Chelsea versus Liverpool immediately following that Arsenal versus West Ham game. So plenty for us to get stuck into today. This is going to be the preview show. Of course, we'll look at some good team news ahead of the game. We'll look at what my predicted 11 is going to be for the game. Look at what you guys have been saying ahead of the game. A couple of other bits and pieces as well. We'll talk about Jurrien Timber and his potential new contract as well. So plenty for us to get stuck into. But we'll start with team news for today's game. Obviously, the big doubt has been about Gabriel since he went off injured in midweek in the Champions League tie in the second half. Mikel saying afterwards that he wasn't too concerned about Gabriel. He reiterated that in his press conference again yesterday. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see two very nice looking pictures there of Gabriel in training yesterday at London Colney. So Gabriel clearly looking very, very fit and ready to feature today, which is a boost for Arsenal. Of course, you want Gabriel fit. Doesn't necessarily mean he'll start. We've seen Mikel is certainly using his squad more this season, which he needed to do, given the size of it, for one. And he is showing that. He did that against Newcastle last time out, didn't he? When there was a slight concern over William Saliba's ankle, they decided, you know what, we're not going to throw him out there. We're going to leave him on the bench. We're going to play Christian Mosquera in this game. He might well do that today. We'll have to wait and see. But you'd certainly imagine that Gabriel, who'll be heading off on international duty after this game, of course, is going to be fit to feature. And I would imagine he will start next to William Saliba. Other team news for the game, obviously, none of the long-term absentees are back. So there's going to be no Kai Havertz, no Gabriel Jesus, no Noni Madueke, Pierre-Emerick Nketiah, not quite ready yet to feature as well, although Mikel said he should be back after the international break, which will be nice. But yeah, Gabriel is fit. Looks like he will be featuring today. So that is undeniably good news. I'm going to move straight on to my predicted 11 for this game. It's getting harder to predict the lineups that Mikel is going to go for, I think, just because, as I mentioned a minute ago, he seems to be a lot more open to using his squad more and making a few surprises that we haven't really seen from him, like against Nottingham Forest. We got there, Declan Rice not starting on the bench. Big surprise. Last week, St James's Park, William Saliba not starting on the bench. You know, in previous seasons, that just wouldn't have happened. So we are seeing signs that he is much more trusting in his squad. He will make these changes that we're not expecting. So you never know today. But I think of all the games, I think this season might be one of the more simpler ones. I think the only issue for me is maybe who starts on the left-hand side. Will it be Eze? Will it be Gabriel Martinelli? Or will it be Leandro Trossard, who has started there plenty of times in recent weeks? So this is what I've gone for. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. But if not, if you're listening on podcast, then I've got Raya in goal. Obviously, and my back four is Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. So they're two fullbacks coming in after being given a rest from the start in midweek in the Champions League. Zubimendi, there's been a few mentions maybe Zubimendi could get a rest. I can't see it. I think Zubimendi will definitely start in this game. So Zubimendi in that role in the heart of the midfield in front of the defence, and I go Odegaard and Rice. It might well, I mean, I'd line this up as 4-3-3, but we're seeing this season that Arsenal seem to be at times playing more as a 4-2-3-1 than a 4-3-3. So it might well be that Rice and Zubimendi are in that sort of double pivot position, and Odegaard is playing as a more natural 10. But yeah, I've gone Rice and Odegaard, and then I've gone an attack of Saka, Gyökeres, and I've gone Eze on the left. If that is the case, then this will be the first game that Odegaard, Saka and Eze have started together this season. I think that's a very exciting prospect. So yeah, that is my predicted 11 for today. I think sort of choosing, I will say, I think choosing the team that I would want for today, I think that's it as well. I think that is probably the team that I would want to see today. I'll get into what some of you guys are saying in a second. There is that nice sort of thought that I think certainly fans have of maybe just playing one of Rice and Zubimendi in these type of games and then having Odegaard and Eze together, for example, in those sort of dueling 8 roles. And then you can have Martinelli on the left or Trossard on the left, which does sound nice. It sounds attacking. Whether it would work, I've seen these sort of things before when these sort of 11s are suggested, and then when you actually see it in reality, it doesn't quite work. You go back to Lee Carsley when he was playing for England when he was managing England fairly recently, and he kind of did that as well. He just had Rice on his own in front of the defence, I think it was, and then he just had like every attacker on the pitch in front of that, and it just didn't work. England ended up losing at home to Wembley to one of the smaller nations. I can't remember who it was. So I think I would probably go with that team as well. I think the balance looks good there, and I think the attacking talent you got on the pitch in those front four, with Declan Rice as well making those runs from deep, I think there's plenty there to really hurt West Ham. Okay, we'll go through what some of you guys have been saying now ahead of the game. Carlo says, we know how West Ham will set up, so we should add more creativity in the middle. Rest Zubimendi, play Rice as the 6, and have Eze and Odegaard behind Gyökeres and Saka and Martinelli out wide. A 4-1 system. So that's the exact sort of team that I was just potentially talking about there. Kevin says, my team tomorrow is Raya, Timber, Gabriel if he's fit, Saliba, Calafiori, Rice, Odegaard, Norgard, Rest Zubimendi, Eze, Saka and Gyökeres. Gareth says, I'd be surprised if Arteta didn't put out his strongest team for West Ham. We need to put any doubts to bed. No more bogey teams. Indeed, of course, West Ham have won their last 2 games in the league at the Emirates. The Suda, is that Maludin, says, hey, hi, Charles. Given the recent stats against West Ham, I reckon Arteta will go strong. Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Zubimendi, Marino, Odegaard, Saka, Gyökeres and Eze. I think he'll try and score 2 goals before he makes some changes in the second half. And then we've got Peter at the bottom there. He says, hi, Charles. I think our midfield should be Rice as a 6 and then Odegaard and Eze as an 8 and a 10. With our strong back 4, do we need Rice and Zubimendi? I think we could be more adventurous. Martinelli left, Saka right. So a few people there sort of saying that shout of what I was talking about. I wouldn't be against it at all. It'd be exciting to watch. I think we see it in the lineup. We'd be like, wow, that looks fun. It's just, I do wonder in reality against another Premier League team, whether that will work, whether the balance in midfield will be quite right enough. I think if you're going to do that, then Martin Odegaard would play deep. I think he would drop back and play as a kind of quarterback at times. I think it's something we'll definitely see in game a fair amount this season. I just wonder from the start, though, if it's maybe a little bit too, certainly for Mikel Arteta, I wonder if it's a little bit too attacking. And I do wonder if we actually see it in reality, whether we kind of look at it and think, you know what, that looks a little bit imbalanced on the pitch and we're struggling a little bit because of it. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. It will be fun, definitely, to see. But thank you very much to everyone for your messages and your comments. Thanks for sending them in, as always. Before I get on, I'm going to talk quickly about Jurrien Timber in a second. But before I get on, I just want to, if you haven't seen it yet, I tweeted this out this morning. If you haven't seen it yet, the embargoed section of the press conference yesterday for Mikel Arteta was really interesting. I thought he gave some very good insight on injuries and injury prevention. Gary at the Times was asking him, you said a while back you were going to really sort of investigate the Bukayo Saka injury. Have you done that? What sort of findings have you found? And Mikel spoke about that. And he talked about how hard it is to kind of prevent and predict these type of injuries. And he gave a really good example about Gabriel when he got injured against Fulham last season when he did his hamstring, and it was the fact that he was chasing Adama Traore and he got up to like 35 miles an hour and he hadn't done that in 6 weeks before. And he said it's very hard to sort of train that, to try and prevent that sort of injury happening, to sort of have that in training. You could maybe push them to run at a speed at that speed, but the context behind it is he'd done 2 explosive actions just before that as well, and you just can't really replicate those kind of situations. There's very interesting insight in terms of what the club are doing, how they're looking at it, and what he said. If that was Emile Smith-Rowe, with all due respect, that he was chasing, he probably wouldn't have done his hamstring at that point. It was just the fact it was Traore. He got up to that speed on the back of 2 really explosive runs he'd done just before, and obviously proved too much for the tendon, and it just went. And there's other situations where very similar things have happened. I tweeted out today, haters have got it on their YouTube channel, the full embargoed section of the press conference. It's definitely really interesting. I think gives some really good insight into the work that goes on behind injuries and what Arsenal do. And Mikel talked about how stuff at home can cause issues as well. If not knowing that a person hasn't slept because his kid hasn't slept for a couple of days, and things like that can sort of creep into it as well. Sammy at the BBC, I'm still so close to saying Sammy at the Mail. I'm so used to saying that. Obviously, trying to get used to Sammy having switched jobs in the past year. We spoke about this briefly on the well, not briefly. We spoke about it on Inside Arsenal Extra Time yesterday with James Bent. If you haven't seen it yet, you can catch the full episode down below. But Jurrien Timber, Arsenal opening talks with Jurrien over a new contract, early stage at the moment, but all parties aligned in their wish to try and get something done, which just makes absolutely perfect sense for me. I mean, Jurrien Timber's been a wonderful, wonderful signing. We were talking about it in on Extra Time. Like someone asked, is he the most underrated player in the Premier League? And I think he's right up there. I don't think people outside of Arsenal really appreciate just how good Jurrien Timber is. James was saying he thinks he's the second best right back in the world. He had Hakimi at number one, but he thinks Jurrien Timber is there in the shout of being the best right back in the world. I mean, one-on-one defending, there is no one better, I don't think, than Jurrien Timber. He's just virtually impossible to get past. I think he's really adding to his game in an attacking sense. Maybe he doesn't have that telepathy that Ben White has down the right-hand side of Saka and Odegaard, but it's growing. You can see it's improving as an attacking sense from set pieces as well. Defensively, it's just unbelievable. And he's come back from that injury and just been magnificent and 100% deserves to be rewarded for that. He's not going to be on massive money Jurrien Timber following his move from the Netherlands just a couple of years ago. And this will be another case of Arsenal kind of rewarding, which Mikel spoke about in his press conference yesterday, rewarding a player for their performances and their sort of stature now in the team. And Arsenal looking to do that with Jurrien Timber, which will be absolutely well-deserved, in my opinion. Victor Ozhianvuna, that deal was announced by Arsenal yesterday. We know it's been going on for some time. We've been waiting for the official announcement. That has now happened. Obviously, he's just still 16-year-old. Arsenal signing him from Shamrock Rovers over in Ireland for a fee of €2 million, which is an Irish record. He's not going to join for another about year and a half, basically, until he turns 18, which I think is in January 2027, I think it is. That's when he'll officially join. So he's going to stay at Shamrock for the next sort of 18 months or so and continue his development before moving to Arsenal. But Arsenal very excited about this one. Very talented player. Kind of plays as a wide player. I think the sort of overall ambition is going to be that he'll be an attacker, a wide attacker. He can play at wing back as well, as a lot of young players tend to do when they first break into first-team pitches like he's doing at Shamrock at the moment. But yeah, Arsenal very excited about this one. I think he's a very talented player and yeah, very happy to have got this deal done for him. And there he is signing his contract, looking very, very happy, as you can imagine. But yeah, it's going to be a while until we see Victor in an Arsenal shirt, but it's a good addition, good young addition to, well, whether he goes straight into academy when he comes here and goes straight into 21s, or whether he's viewed as a potential option for the first team squad when he first arrives. I guess the next sort of 16, 18 months of his development over in Ireland will have a big say in that. And that's it for me. Not today, because I'll do something after the game. I'm in the press box today, so I'll be doing my live updates. If you can't watch the game and you want to follow it via social media, I will be doing that on my social media channels. And I'll do a video after the game from the press box. My immediate reaction, obviously, player ratings, all the usual stuff. Fingers crossed for an Arsenal win when we finally get one over West Ham in the Premier League at the Emirates. Take it easy, everyone. Have a good day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.